think you're closer than Kamala has been ever.
I think so. And she's been the border czar for 3 years, and she's never visited, and she's never actually tried to understand what's going on. It's really crazy. I mean, you know, right before we started shooting, actually, the Secret Service pulled me aside because there's a group of migrants headed here right now. They're about 2 miles out, and they're apparently flying a drone, which is, I think that's one of the reasons why this helicopter is in the background. And it's like, this is our country, right? We're in our country, the United States of America, and we're worried about drones invading our airspace when the vice presidential nominee is here for an interview.
Is that there's migrants 2 miles away from our shot.
Exactly, yeah. And they're approaching now, and obviously it's getting hot, and you know we're going to see what happens.
You know, border is immigration, one of the biggest issues for this campaign, and we could go on to the problems that it causes when you have open borders, be it deadly fentanyl, be it national security concerns, ISIS terrorists being arrested, and then the fact that they want to house all these people, give them jobs, and give them prepaid debit cards.
Yeah.
I just have to ask you, why do you think this is happening? Why would they allow our country? Because they're allowing this to happen.
That's right.
Why would they allow that? We could go into dereliction of duty, oath of office, all of that being violated.
Sure.
This is intentional to open our borders and to allow us to be invaded.
It is. Well, look, I think it is intentional. I've asked myself this why question a lot, and fortunately, they actually tell us why they're doing this. What is it?
Well, the migrants are on the way.
Yeah,
so
that's
here
right.
we go. The migrants are coming. Maybe we'll get an unexpected takedown. So the Secret Service drones are up, tracking them?
Well, there's also the migrants have a drone. So the why, you don't have to guess at it because they say it. Now, of course, they accuse Republicans of racism for saying this, but you just take the Democrats' own words. They say that they want to import millions of illegal aliens, give them the right to vote, give them amnesty, and then they don't have to worry about persuading their own citizens anymore because they then have imported a new group of voters. And it's really scandalous if you think about why wouldn't you want to persuade your own people that you have the best policies to improve their lives? It shows how they completely disrespect their own countrymen.
And to further that, Kamala just dropped an ad saying she's been tougher on the border. We're going to play a little bit of this and get your reaction.
On the border, the choice is simple. Kamala Harris supports increasing the number of Border Patrol agents. Donald Trump blocked a bill to increase the number of Border Patrol agents. Kamala Harris supports investing in new technology to block fentanyl from entering the country. Donald Trump blocked funding for technology to block fentanyl from entering the country. Kamala Harris supports spending more money to stop human traffickers. Donald Trump blocked money to stop human traffickers. There's two choices in this election: the one who will fix our broken immigration system and the one who's trying to stop her.
So that's gaslighting. They've done that for a long time. But in the next few weeks, some say Kamala will define herself, and perhaps to those independent voters that you want as well in those battleground states. What's your strategy to combat these types of lies in their campaign ads directly?
I think all we have to do is tell the truth, and we're going to do it on paid media. We're going to do it by going and doing interviews and prosecuting the case against Kamala Harris. But the truth is that she has been the border czar for 3.5 years. It's been a total disaster. And when she talks about that bipartisan border deal, I was in the United States Senate. I was helping to negotiate and look through some of the details of that deal. Here's what it would do. It would codify catch and release, which is one of the reasons why we have such a terrible border policy. It would not end the millions of illegal paroles that Biden and Harris, Biden and Harris have implemented, which threw open the gates. It would not re-implement Remain in Mexico, which is one of the ways that we had a better border policy. So it doesn't actually solve any of the problems. I just talked to the Border Patrol men out here. They said, we don't need new laws. We need a border czar that tells us that we're allowed to do our job. That's what needs to change. And they've used this to distract from the fact that their policies have been a failure.
You just said something interesting, JD, I want to pick up on. You said we just need to prosecute the case against her. What's fascinating is she has gotten 0 votes. She's at the top of the ticket. She has gotten 0 sit-downs, 0 news conferences, and apparently the love fest for her versus what you're getting in the media is very noticeable. So the fact you bared your soul in this book that became a hit movie and everyone loved you then, that counts for nothing.
That's right. Well, look, the crazy thing is she wants to be the President of the United States, and she can't sit for not even a hostile interview, but just an interview where she has to ask some questions. I mean, go and sit with a friendly network, but answer the American people's questions about your record. This is a person who's been a complete chameleon in public life. She now says that she's a prosecutor, but she wanted to defund the police. She says she supports American energy, but she wanted to ban fracking. She was the border czar, but she actually implemented open border policies. You have to be willing to answer the American people's questions, or you can't be the leader of this nation.
You're sitting down with me, and I know you're open to answering anything.
Of course.
I have a daughter who's 18, to be her first election she'll vote for. You have a daughter, much younger.
Yeah, much younger.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it. It goes quick. Can we just put to bed for once this childless cat statement?
Yes.
I have cats. I love cats. I know people who don't have cats and hate cats. I mean, it has come now to become something bigger than I think you ever intended.
Yeah.
Would you care if your daughter doesn't have children? Would you care if women politicians are elected and they don't have kids?
Well, look, I want my daughter to do what she wants to do. I want her to fulfill her dreams, and I certainly think that she'll eventually want to have children. Maybe she won't, and that's okay. But I want her to make those choices herself, and I want her to do it in an environment where we promote family formation, where we make it easier for young women to choose life and to have families. The whole point of my argument, and of course the Democrats have lied about what I said, but is that I like families. I want us to be a pro-family country, and I do think that when you hear Kamala Harris say things like maybe we shouldn't have children because of concerns over climate change, my reaction is that is bizarre. That's an anti-child attitude, and I criticize it. But as I said in my own speech where they lied about it, if you can't have children, if you choose to not have children, if it just doesn't work out, we're not attacking you. We're attacking the anti-child mindset that exists in the Democrat Party.
Well, it does exist, and they're using it. They're also using this term weird. You had some support yesterday. There were some California farmers coming out saying, yeah, weird like us. Can you lean into this weird thing and kind of turn it back on them?
Yeah, I mean, look, if your attitude is that a happily married father of 3 is a weird guy, call me weird all you want. I'm happy to be who I am, and I'm happy to be sitting here asking the American people for their vote to be their next vice president. I guess if you're a normal guy, it is kind of weird if you want to give sex hormones to children, or you want men to compete against biological women in the United States Olympics. I guess if that's your view on things, maybe I am weird, whatever. They can call me what they want to.
It was strange yesterday when Donald Trump was at the NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists. He was
answering tough questions, by the way.
Hostile intro.
Yep.
He was really pressed for 10 minutes about you.
I chose him because he's a very strong believer in work and the working man and woman, and especially the working man and woman who have been treated very unfairly, because you have many of them in this room. But you have many of those people, they were treated very unfairly. They worked very hard and they were treated unfairly. He wrote the book that became a bestseller. The movie became a smash hit. He's a very smart guy without the benefit of having a family that has contacts.
Now, I have a favorite pastor who says haters are just confused fans. So maybe it's a badge of courage here. But when he's talking about this, JD, and you're watching, and they're asking him, why did you pick JD? Are you happy you did that? And is he ready day one? What are you thinking in your head? Because obviously you don't want to be a distraction to the ticket. You want to be a value add. So when you see him kind of being pressed so hard, what's running through your mind as far as you're the guy. He selected you.
Well, first of all, I was grateful that he defended me, of course, because they really did ask him some very hostile questions. But I think also, look, part of my job is to prosecute the case against Kamala Harris, to tell the truth about her. And part of my job is to take hits from the media. My attitude is there's limited airspace, and if they're attacking me, they're not attacking him. So I actually think that's a good thing, because that allows him to tell the American people about his vision and what he wants to do. And I think if you contrast the President Trump record of success versus the Kamala Harris record of failure, we're going to win this race. We just got to empower the president to get that message out there, and that's what I'm trying to do.
You co-sponsored a bill to push back against the DEI, all the destructive effects. We saw with the former Secret Service Director, Cheadle, how she wanted more diversity in the Secret Service. And we've seen the testimony with Secret Service, now acting director in the FBI. Are you concerned? Donald Trump's going back to Butler. There's one whistleblower that came out in the congressional hearing saying we should expect another attempt to happen before November. They're saying everything has been exposed to how did this happen and how do we not have more answers right now?
Well, look, because the FBI, it appears, is at least the leadership of the FBI is stonewalling a little bit. We have to investigate this to better understand what happens. Let me say, I've had a Secret Service detail for all of 2 weeks. I know the president and I both love our Secret Service details, but clearly at the higher levels there was a massive failure, and we need to get to the bottom of it because the president almost lost his life, right? So I think my Senate colleagues have been asking tough questions. They've been asking the right questions to get to the bottom of this. We still don't know anything about this guy's motive. Nobody's been fired. It's
is that
really
wrong?
Oh, sure it is. It's certainly disgraceful. Again, the leadership of some of these organizations has got to have some turnover. We've got to have better people in there, and we've got to better understand what happened. But look, we know that Donald Trump stood up there, took a bullet for the country, and got back to work the very same day. Don't we want an American leader who's not cowed by that stuff? Being the president is not an easy job. You want somebody who's willing to take a bullet for the country, not Kamala Harris, who won't even answer a tough question for the country, even though there's only 96 days to go before the election.
Do you think it was God who saved Donald Trump that day?
Look, I'm a devout Christian. I absolutely believe it was God who saved Donald Trump. I mean, you watch that video, and he turns his head at the very last minute, and so it hits his ear instead of hitting a much, much worse part of his body. I absolutely believe in miracles, and I think that, God was acting on that day, and I think he saved the country, not just Donald Trump, from a terrible tragedy. I mean, my mom was actually born on JFK's inauguration day, January 20th, 1961, and she talks about how for her entire life, pretty much, people who were older than her talked about what a terrible day it was for this country. I mean,
we were so close.
It hurt this country for 40 years, and I think it would have had the same effect if Donald Trump had lost his life.